Hello and welcome to the Christmas edition of the GarethJohnstonGolf.com newsletter. And I want to give you some yards by talking about the simple effects that ball position has on your attack angle and also the path of the club when using a driver through impact. And these simple things are overlooked, and what I've tried to do here is with a hula hoop and a cane attached to the bottom just help you to see what influence changing your ball position has to the delivery of the club down at the bottom section of the arc where the club meets the ball. So first things first, if you look in the bottom right hand corner, I'll try to show you here, this is bang on in the centre of my stance from a down the line perspective. So I've tried to help you see this with the use of some canes on the ground. And if you then look at the cane that is strapped to the bottom of the hula hoop, you can see that the alignment of that is parallel to the ball to target line. So quite simply, I've kept the hula hoop here attached to the base of my spine, and I've then moved the ball way back in my stance, as you can see in the top left hand corner, and I've put the ball off my right instep. And you can then see, by keeping the hula hoop attached to the base of my spine, that the bottom section of the arc is naturally going to want to travel to the right. Now of course in all of these cases we can change our swing to compensate for that. However, just from setup alone you can see what influences that will have on the delivery of the club. Consequently then, instruction will always tell you with a driver to have the ball forward in your stance and in line with your left instep. Yes, it does help. It does help with maximising distance, which would mean an upward strike with the driver, which I'll talk to you about in a moment. However, it does have one major flaw when we move the ball too far forward, and that is that the arc of the club and the delivery of this cane here is very leftward. Now the largest, most prominent shot in golf is a slice or a pull, and you can now see why from just using these hula hoops in these images. So look at Ernie Els here, and I just want to talk you through some simple things that he is doing. Let's talk about the back edge of the golf ball, and it is aligned underneath his SAP logo on his left pectoral, or just underneath his left armpit if you want to be vague with that alignment. Now simply speaking, you can then see there is a little bit of daylight between the left heel and where that ball is aligned, so it's not quite off the left instep, and I'll talk to you about the effects of that now. So let's have a look at how the club is delivered from an attack angle perspective. And TrackMan tells us that the PGA Tour average for attack angle is actually minus 1.2, which means that the club is actually ever so slightly on the way down through impact. Now this is the sole of his club, and as he meets the ball now, that sole is working ever so slightly down. Now, let's talk about the effects of having the ball slightly further forward. So this is his attack angle with driver, with the ball underneath his left pec. Now imagine if the ball was forward, and let's say that's this frame. He's met the ball now. Now watch the difference in the rise angle. Very different compared to where it was. Now of course you can do that if you want to absolutely maximise your distance. However, it does create incredibly erratic drives because the club face orientation becomes very leftward, and people will typically open the face to compensate for that and hit very high spinny shots to the right. So in layman's terms, as a rule of thumb, try this over the winter. I want you to move the ball slightly further back in your stance so it sits underneath your pectoral. And from that, I then want you to just make sure that your head is aligned so it's sat behind the ball. And then you can see the impact of having the ball slightly further back, and then on top of that, bringing in a slightly closed alignment of your shoulders. And I've put the ball now in the bottom right hand image, exactly how Ernie Els has it, and you can now see with a slight adjustment of my shoulders it is incredibly easy to tidy up that bottom section of the arc and tidy up that path. So just try this over the winter for me please. I want you to put the ball underneath your left pectoral, pop your head just a touch behind the ball, feel as if you just sweep the ball off the tee peg, and you'll see here how the driver just clips the top of the tee peg. And then from that, you will then neutralise your delivery of the golf club and stop the club swinging across and to the left. Happy Christmas, try these tips, and I look forward to working with you over the winter.